but he insisted I get up and dress. His leaving the room made me feel relieved, like he was backing off. I looked out the window and witnessed a blizzard with whiteout winds. I knew I was in trouble as the shower started. My partner dragged me out of bed. Feeling too sick to eat, I could scarcely stand. Despite my objections, he claimed we were flying because the meteorologist said the storm stopped at 5,000 feet. But I couldn't imagine climbing in these conditions. He returned to the hotel, and I couldn't believe anyone would fly in such conditions. He ignored my concerns and threw me into the shower, saying we were flying, including me. Resistance failed. I'll never forget my final words. Not in this lifetime. As we rose, chills went down my spine. My body tingled with excitement and fear. We left the planet and entered billowing clouds, overcoming any apprehension. Only the propane burn, like a dragon's hiss, disturbed the eerie calm. Suddenly, the clouds split, revealing their delicate cotton candy-like texture against clear blue skies. We played with the wind, lowering to glide above a frozen mountain lake, raced animals, laughing at multicolored hot air balloons. At 12,000 feet, I realized, I am not my body. I turned into a sacred spot and was greeted by Tyranier's alpine meadow sunlight. My grandmother's devotion reunited us decades later. Recalling her comfort during my childhood illness dispelled erroneous guilt for her death. Unified in this wonderful dimension, we connected beyond time and words, accepting eternal love. As we went toward the brilliant light, I found comfort in the dirt under us. I confidently crossed the valley and recognized it resembled my physical reality yet contradicted typical heaven. It appeared like a time nexus where past, present, and future joined. Seeing several worlds touching Earth shattered my notions about good and bad, hot and cold. I shed my body and wore a silk gown from a previous event. My life unfolded on an amphitheater stage, with loved ones speaking in a wordless language of love. As they left, I knew I would follow. The last unfamiliar but powerful figure spoke directly to my heart and thoughts. Linclair, you'll inspire love, change, and spiritual awareness. We'll meet in 27+1, he replied, making me feel loved and recognized. The significance persisted in my heart, even though I didn't understand it. It took years to understand its significance and the challenge ahead. I rejoined with my grandmother and father alone and shared life and love. I remembered a terrifying 1977 mountain adventure as a significant time in my life. As I gasped, my father died from a heart attack miles away. His death touched me deeply despite our distance. His inability to turn off my psychic powers made me suppress them for fear of emotional agony. Years after the accident, I realized that my connection to my dad and others goes beyond bloodlines. We share an energetic desire. This link is immensely stronger than my need for my father's or anybody else's approval. He taught me that love and suffering are not twins and that grief is not inseparable from physical death in this reunion, crossing what were quickly becoming huge and artificial borders. In our emotional bodies, love may seem choked off forever, but the drama of emotions frequently blinds us to the truth that love is always in motion, like a fluid bond running from the soul through the body and spirit eternally. In an infinite space, life and death coexist, the same energy riding on the light that connects each breath, inhaling and exhaling like surfing a wave that swells over and fills the invisible gaps between every heartbeat. On one side, the spiraling energy is absorbed and cleansed, on the other reborn. My grandma left me alone as the experience grew, and I heard the music, tones so magnificent that remembering them now takes me to tears. The sounds of ascendance were an echo of a hymn I was convinced I had heard before, a simple psalm of beautiful harmony whose pure melody erased all anxiety. Knowing and singing this song, I closed my eyes and danced as this resonating vibration coursed through my body, heart, and spirit. Love awakened in my heart as I sang this mercy aria and began my path toward totality. Going home, in a time of exquisite calm before the light, I was unexpectedly grasped and gently rocked. A realization came to me during these sacred moments that filled an epoch beyond sentient time. The perceiving, knowing, and contact with other spirits could only have occurred ages earlier. Breathing into each other's hearts and brains, I knew I was dying but also receiving a vibrant knowledge of changeless love. I still feel one's golden cord of timeless love. Before this throne concealed in forever, we reaffirmed our intent. I have never experienced a more profound consecration than when we swore to return and restore love's light. Next, I stepped into an escalator, not a tunnel, sure someone at the mountaintop was calling my name. A loving tone pulled me closer to the conclusion, my spirit reacting to a stronger tug than before. As I became more in tune with the music, the tones eased my heart and filled me with love. The invisible director of this adventure demanded another outfit change, which I did not see or feel. She was dressed in the most gorgeous ivory and mother-of-pearl gown, which seemed alive. The spider-web-thin fabric looked to be speckled with stardust and drifting over my skin like a crowd of tiny angels. My cells and soul felt light when the cognitive light came on, and I realized this wasn't a gown. This shimmering fabric represented my energetic frequency, the divine signature, the essence of who and what we are, exquisite, pure, translucent light. Moving like a bride toward the top, I took one step over the threshold and left my right footprint in eternity. One glance of the spiral of sound and light transformed my life forever. I watched a cosmic loom weave this single strand into a beautiful tapestry, seeing light shuttle weft and warp form a pattern. It was so intricately basic that I knew it was deliberate because it moved with unconditional compassion. This beautiful spinning wheel was time, music, and arcing angles. My understanding was that this music's rainbow of light defined and filled space. It weaves light-spun stuff into eternity. I felt at home after one step into the cosmic dance. After returning to the boundless source of love, I realized my life is just a spark, a hologram. I found joy for the first time in this light. Chaos hit me unexpectedly when a needle beam purposely pushed down and jerked across an old LP shriek. I started fighting a monster and heard a violent sound in my mind, heart, and space. I was losing this death or life battle against a mystery opponent who gripped my left ankle stronger than me. I twisted and took memory pictures over my right shoulder, unable to escape but determined to memorize the music and pattern the loom was weaving the light into. Today's experience concludes. I always like hearing everyone's opinions. You know what to do. Brighten comments. Stay safe and blessed until next time. Accidentally slashed my leg open at 14. The ambulance took me to the hospital. When I hit, my life flashed before me like a movie. Everything replayed in seconds. My loved ones came to mind, and I regretted any past mistreatment. It felt like time slowed down. I worried I would die with no nice memories. I had a sad childhood of abuse and neglect. My father caught a nurse's attention after hours of bleeding in the waiting area. I needed kneecap surgery immediately after being covered in blood. After x-rays, I was quickly prepared for surgery. I was terrified when they sedated me with gas. My granddad woke up mid-surgery. To escape awareness, I inhaled deeply. Panic ensued when the gas took effect. I screamed and thrashed within, but appeared still. "I'm still awake," I shouted inside. I suddenly floated above, peaceful and weightless. I gazed from above, bewildered yet calm. Hearing and feeling a piercing noise overwhelmed me. Wanting to leave, I wished. I was enveloped in darkness beyond my horror in an instant. I felt adrift without a body, like a dream without sensation. What would I look like without form? Despite pandemonium screaming I am still awake, I found myself calm on the ceiling. Weightless, I bounced between ceiling and floor as a sharp sound pushed me away. In the dark, I felt disoriented and formless, dreading the unknown yet not in danger. A loving, warm glow approached slowly. I felt joy and contentment for the first time after surrendering to it. Faced with my familiar appearance, I embraced myself. Glowing beams guided me to my father at the end of white lights. We entered a beautiful world, trusting them despite my vision problem. From different angles, I gazed at crystalline architecture and bright surrounds. Seeing a skyscraper with 12 translucent name walls made me remember them. I hid behind a tree and surprisingly merged with it as two women approached. I was excited by this odd experience despite my fear. "I always thought I could do this," I said as the two women went by, presumably ignorant of me in the tree. I was content in its embrace, admiring its colors like mine. I excelled in gymnastics as if guided from an early age. In what felt like an office or room, I saw Earth's splendor from above. A soothing male voice encouraged me as I left the tree after being lightly questioned about staying. Standing before a wall or window, I looked at Earth in the darkness of space after dancing along a route with deep blue seas. Looking back at my trauma, I wondered why God hadn't protected me. Thankfully, a soothing voice eased my anxieties. I felt lighter knowing God would protect me and believe in my innocence. Though I doubted my appearance, the voice informed me of my beauty beyond my body, overwhelming me with joy and thankfulness. I wish I could sing well, I said. You do, he said. Surprised, I asked. Really? Yes, he said. I wish I was perfect, I said. You are, he said. I am, I repeated my question for confirmation. Yes, you are, he repeated. Reflecting on prior maltreatment, I felt inadequate and blamed myself. Yet he assured me of God's love and my worth. I, overwhelmed with love and pleasure, asked to be with God and him, which he affirmed. Jesus shone with love and delight when I turned around. I sensed eternal life and kinship by embracing him. Jesus informed me of my place in heaven and urged me to cherish life on earth despite competing teachings. He smiled and told me I was loved, even if I questioned it. I responded, they do, saying, well, they have a funny way of showing it. I said, but no one loves me. He said, I love you. I asked, you do? He hugged me tight, holding my hands to his chest in front of him. He responded, yes, I do. We stared at one another again, full of love. I could stare at him forever without moving. I wondered why I'd returned to Earth. He gave me images of my future happiness and laughter. Even after abuse and doubts, I imagined myself happy, married, and helping others discover God. I loved him and wanted him with me, but I feared rejection. I requested with bravery and was delighted when he consented. With love and eagerness, we embraced. Jesus received a scroll from another man, who smiled at me. Jesus then urged me to join him to show me more. After walking through a gorgeous terrain, we reached a house beside a reflection pond. Jesus showed me it was mine, and I was joyful despite not seeing it. Enchanted by the tranquility, I debated returning to Earth by the pond. We left the house hand in hand, and Jesus joyfully led me to a room full of happy, loving people. I regretted not contacting them sooner after they telepathically communicated their love. As we returned to Earth, Jesus and the others laughed at my tree comment and said goodbye. I left everyone. Jesus had to act before we returned together. He mentioned that might be odd. Okay, I said. This is just described as him getting into me. He was visible and felt in me. Perhaps I could see through his and my eyes simultaneously. We left home and returned to Earth. I remember it being fast, yet we traveled far. After seeing a flash from behind me, we returned to space. I knew where everything was and how far the planets were because I felt like I was expanding. No border appeared tangible. In space above Earth, I paused. I wanted to take one final glance before returning to this unclean world and fleshly body. It felt like being hogged. I was cuddled and held when I put my hand in the light. I sat forward, Indian style, with my hands clasped in my lap. Though I wasn't breathing, I was alive. Not you, Jesus said, but the body needed to breathe. Then a breeze blew through me. It was lovely. I wanted the memory forever. Florida's heat is usually too much for me. I have a skin issue that makes heat painful. My ideal temperature was the breeze. I wanted to see Earth's water. Suddenly, we were flying quickly. Awesome. Like a roller coaster, but a million times better. I smiled like never before. There was no fear of heights or falling. It was an unforgettable ride. We ran to the water and splashed. The water parted like the Red Sea, but smaller. Not getting wet. I was in a sphere. My thought was, oh, what a shame I am not getting wet. It felt good to feel water on my skin. Your body gets wet, not you, remarked Jesus. I was disappointed, but not devastated. I grinned and glided across the lake as we sailed away. Before entering this body, I looked around the hospital one last time, thinking, it's heavy and dirty, hot and sweaty. I wasn't attached. Honestly, that grossed me out. Where do I go in? I asked my body, and I effortlessly went in. I entered below the sternum. To be in the body was strange. It felt hollow within and dense outside. I had no idea what to do when I returned to being human. I bounced inside for a few seconds, down the legs, down the arms, and up the arms. Sounds of people trying to wake me up began. I couldn't speak or communicate with this body. He said, "It will take just a second to reconnect with your body." I said, "Okay, I will just stay in my head until I could answer." I concluded, "Does anyone have a breath mint?" They denied me water and anything else. Ice chips were my only option. I thought my breath was awful. Every mint, gum, and mouthwash I could recall was used. They were cross with me. I wanted to avoid foul breath and answering questions with them in my face. My father met me in my hospital room. I couldn't find Jesus on my search. He would walk through the door, I thought. I never seen him again, and am probably still looking until we meet again. I'll wait forever for him. Relearning to walk took almost a year. This transformed my life. Jesus' love transformed me forever.